If you're tired of being the weirdo using hand signals, this video is for you.
In today's video, we're going to cover all the parts needed to install a turn signal switch and flasher into your Willys Jeep. These instructions will cover installing this switch in a Jeep that's already equipped with the Kaiser Willys wiring harness. When you order your wiring harness, you can get it in the original form, which for most of the older early Jeeps did not include turn signals, but we also offer it with ready to accept terminals to hook up a turn signal switch for the lights on your Jeep. I decided to do a little art project. I thought it would help simplify the diagram and just give you a better visual of where everything goes. So let's start over here. The yellow wire goes to the driver's front turn signal. The red wire goes to your stop switch, which should have 12 volts coming into it. The green wire goes to the passenger front lamp, or your turn signal. The brown wire goes to the passenger rear lamp. And we'll skip over to the orange, which is the driver's rear. So those are your four main ones to the bulbs. So we have orange, brown, yellow, and green. Then here in the middle is the flasher. The black wire goes to the L on your flasher. The blue wire goes to the P. And the red wire goes to the X, which is 12 volt keyed on power. So this is a fused wire that goes towards, so that when you turn your key on, this will light up and your turn signals will be active. This power wire should have 12 volts to the battery and be on all the time, so that if your engine's off and you're coasting, you hit the brakes, your lights will still come on. So on most systems, the brake light switch is powered all the time, and then this is your keyed on ignition power. So I really hope this simplified things. It's really a simple system, especially if you have the Kaiser Willys wiring harness. It's all set up with these four leads to go to each lamp, and then right here you're tapping into your brake light switch, which is already there, and then this is can go to the accessory or the ignition on side of your switch, and this goes to your flasher. So although when you open this there's a lot of wires, it's really a very simple system. When you open your box, you should see a diagram like this. I believe it's also available on the website, but if you're like me, sometimes just seeing it in person will make it a lot easier. So hopefully you're able to pause this or screenshot it, and hopefully you find this helpful. If you ever have any questions about anything you see in these videos, please comment below and we'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. The next thing you'll need to do is just prepare your switch harness. I like to put removable wire splices on the end of my wires, so that if I have to remove the switch or work on the column, that I can unplug everything without having to cut anything. I also got this flasher socket from Kaiser Willys, so this gives you a nice removable plug for the flasher as well. So we're just following that diagram from the beginning of the video, putting our connectors on the end of our wires, getting ready to install the switch. As you know, working underneath the dash of a flat Fender is not the most enjoyable experience, so we'll try to spend as little time under here as possible. But I did want to show you, so this is a Kaiser Willys harness, and it's one of the harnesses that's designed for turn signals. So you can see it's already got the wires here. I label them by color to help me hook up the harness and put the opposite end of the connectors I need. So the best thing here is to use a power probe or a jumper wire, and just have a buddy kind of walk around your Jeep as you're putting power to these four wires, and make sure you have right front, left rear, etc. If you have a custom harness or you're not using a Kaiser Willys harness, it's the same principle. You just need to make sure that you have the correct wire from the switch going to the correct wire in your lighting system. One of the last things we need to do is install a flasher, and we're going to make that even a little bit easier with this bracket. So you just use a little bolt or screw to your firewall or wherever you want to mount this, and that'll snap right into there and prevent it from flapping around under your dashboard. The nice thing with these sockets is that if we did our homework and everything's wired correctly, we don't have to worry about any, mixing up the wires anymore. So if this flasher burns out and you want to replace it, just pop this one off, pop the new one on. You don't have to look at the labels or anything because we're all wired into this socket, which only goes on one way. It's a little tough to see, but I decided to mount my flasher right up there above the brake pedal, and it should be up out of the way but easy to get to if I need to work on it or replace that flasher. My switch is all wired up, but it's just kind of dangling here, so next is to pick a spot on the column and mount it. When you're picking the location for your switch, I recommend just sitting in your Jeep. Maybe you're just replacing this switch, so you already know where you want it, but a lot of people want to put it, parallel to the ground like they would on a modern car. But if you're like me, your knee's kind of right there, so I like it up at a bit of an angle. I don't like it straight up and down because I have a gauge down here. So, but that's just personal preference. So I'm going to put it right about there. So I'm going to take a little soapstone and mark where the column and the switch make contact, because this switch actually gets its ground through this area where the hose clamp rides, so you need to have a bare metal surface for this to ground. So that means you can't have any paint right where that touches. You can use a file, sandpaper, whatever. Do be very careful because there's gasoline under your tank. My Jeep is a diesel and it's sealed up pretty well, so I'm not worried about any explosion, but please be careful. Put cardboard down or something to protect it if you're going to use power tools to clean the paint off your column like I'm about to. If you're worried about rust, just take a little dielectric grease and put it on that bare metal. Once we put the column, or once we put the switch on, we'll just kind of grind it into that a little bit, and it'll still make the ground, but it won't rust. A hose clamp is included with your switch, and that's what's going to hold it on to the column. Think about the direction that you put the clamp in so that the little tail that sticks out isn't pointed directly at your fingers or your knee or anything like that, because you don't want to cut yourself every time you go to change lanes. Once you have the clamp tightened, I like to tidy up my wiring a little bit. And are you really a Jeep owner if you don't have various zip ties on hand? The kit doesn't come with these, but most of us probably have a few to spare. I just think it kind of makes for a cleaner look. The harness does have a nice black coating on it, so it's pretty discreet, but I like to dress it up just a little bit, and make sure you cut these on a nice 45-degree angle so you cut yourself every time you look at it. Here's the view from the cockpit, so you can see it's up away from my knee, but it's still easy to operate. And now for the moment of truth. If I wire this correctly, when I turn this to the ignition side of the switch, this should light up. On this style switch, the red light in there means your switch has power. Hey, look at that. Now, if I pull it down here, I should get a blink for left turn signal, right turn signal, and if I pull that out, that should blink for hazard. So all four should be blinking, and that should cancel it. So far so good. Now let's see if the lights actually work. Driver's side turn signal. Passenger side turn signal.